Hello fellow woodworkers and welcome to this week's edition of the Garage Workshop. This week we're going to be looking at my top 5 tool picks for new woodworkers. I hope you enjoy the video. Roll the credits! So in this video I'm going to talk through the top 5 tools that I have bought in my journey on woodworking. Now this is just my opinion, you might buy other things might be your priority, but as I've developed in what I've been making, the tools that I've needed to use have developed, and that's got me to the stage I am today. And there are 5 tools which I use all the time, which are things that I invested in fairly early on, which really helped me out. Some of them might seem very obvious, some of them might seem quite strange, but they're all things that have really helped my woodworking. And I went on to making cabinets in particular. There were a few things there which really helped, and I'm just going to go through those with you now. The first thing, and I'm not going to take it for granted that you've got any of these tools, but the first thing that I bought was an all-in-one combi screwdriver stroke drill. I got this from Aldi, and believe it or not, it was £14.99 when I bought it. It's a 16-volt battery on the bottom. I haven't sadly seen this same model on sale since, and also I was hoping to pick up a spare 16-volt battery, which is very difficult to do now. You can only really get 20s or 12s, but I bought this as my first sort of all-in-one. So when I first got it, I was drilling with it, and it's become more and more of a screwdriver. Now, it does a huge amount this, and for the amount of money it is, it was an absolutely bargain buy, and I still use it for the majority. And if you've seen any of my videos, you'll see I use it in pretty much everything I do. So that was my sort of entry level. But when I came to doing the partitioning in my garage and putting up the concrete screws through the roofing battens, the Aldi drill just didn't have enough guts. It just wouldn't go. It just kept turning over. And it also, because it had quite a small battery, it flattened the battery pretty quick. So I moved on to this. I think I've put in my one of my videos, when you watch a lot of YouTube DIY videos, people sort of are quite down on Ryobi, and I don't understand why. I've had nothing but a good experience with all of my Ryobi tools. I've got a few of them. This is an impact driver, if you've never seen one before, and this is the R18 IDP model, and I literally bought this for when I was partitioning the garage, and when I was driving the roofing battens through the wall. I was using concrete screws, and some of them were quite long, and my blue Aldi driver just didn't do it. So I bought this, and now I use this quite often if I've got some sort of more heavier duty things to do. For example, if you watch the build on the partition, the garage partition, I use this for driving in some of the nails and some of the bolts. So it's my sort of heavier go-to drill really when I need something a bit more powerful. Now that was actually the third of these 3 that I bought, but I've skipped it because this is an impact driver and it goes with that. And this is my DeWalt drill. I'm not sure, it's the DCD 785, and this was one of those things that I just completely bought on a whim. Screwfix had a deal, I think it was Screwfix or Toolstation had a deal on it, where you got this and the case, and it was something like £89, when normally it was like £160. When I bought it at the time, I have to be honest, I didn't realise what a fantastic drill it was, and it does absolutely everything, this drill. It's the 18 volt, the XR Lion battery one, and it is brilliant. It's got the most incredible hammer action. As you'll see in my videos, I use it all the time for drilling, but when it comes to drilling holes in masonry, it does that no problem. If I want to drill through metal, it does that no problem. So tool number 5, whichever one you choose, is a good drill stroke electronic or combi screwdriver. That's tool number 5. Okay, so tool number 4 is actually not a power tool, believe it or not. It's actually a set of tools, a set of measuring tools. So when I first started building things, I needed to be able to do accurate right angles, and I started off with one of these, which I think is called a roofer's triangle or roofer's square, I think it's called, to get all of my angles. It was absolutely fantastic to start with this little one. This one I bought on Wish, and it's pretty good, but due to the manufacturer, it's straight, but it's not 100% accurate. And the piece that goes on the bottom, this bit, is thicker on one side than the other. But that was absolutely fine to start with. But then when I started building bigger things and more complicated things, I needed something bigger. So I then moved on to this one, which I got from B&Q. I think this is a Magnuson one. This was much better, really straight. And I also found when I was doing my cabinetry and putting in the drawers that this bit on the inside, I'm not sure what this is officially meant for, but it was really good for putting in the grooves and holes where I wanted to put them. And of course, being that size, it covers most. And if you've watched a lot of my videos, you'll see that I'm always using this. I've got a smaller one, exactly the same, which is actually this size, but it's the same. It's a Magnuson one, and it's black. But that was fantastic. But then when I got to cutting some of the boards, that wasn't quite good enough. So I moved on to one of these, and apologies, I have no idea what you officially call this. I call this a T-square because it's a bit like the ones I used to have when I did CDT at school back in the day. But as I needed to mark longer areas or get more accurate cuts, I moved on to this. And the thing about this and all the other ones is I also use them to check I've got right angles. So if I'm joining two pieces of wood, and if you've seen any of my videos, the chicken coop or any of the other ones, you'll see that I use these all the time to get the angles right. The last one I got is this one. I'm not sure what this is called. It's a bit like a T-square. I use this all the time, and you'll see it in some of the videos where I've used the table saw. So I use it to push up and butt up against the blade to get the exact width, and I also use it to get the depth. And when I'm marking wood, if I want to put a mark, say, in the middle of a piece of wood, I'll measure it with this, run it along the side, put the pencil on the end, and do the marking. So I've used it loads and loads for that. So if you haven't got any of these tools, I would really recommend them, particularly as they were, I think the most expensive one I bought was, I think this was like $9.99, which for the amount I've used it is nothing. But if you haven't got any of these tools, I really recommend that you get them. So that's tool number 4. So back onto the power tools with tool number 3. This is a circular saw. It's made by Skil. It's a Skil saw. It's one of the first power tools that I bought that was, shall I say, dangerous. It's been fantastic for me. I use it a lot. I use it to cut up large pieces, large boards. You'll have seen me use it in a number of videos. I have actually progressed onto a track saw now, but I still use this a lot. We've got an open fire and I'm always getting scraps of wood, and I use this for that. I made a homemade sort of track rail for it to give me really accurate cuts. So what I like about this is it's much more versatile. A plunge saw or a track saw just does one thing. It gets you a neat line or cuts two things in half very neatly. This is a bit more sort of agricultural than that, but I've used it a huge amount. It was £40. I bought it from B&Q, and it's worth its weight in gold. If you ever want to start to cut longer sheets or bigger pieces of ply or MDF, then invest in a really, really cheap one of these. A circular saw is something that you don't really think about, but then when you come to do jobs, you think, oh, I can put that on the circular saw, I can do that. The only criticism I've got of a circular saw is the quality of the cuts can be a bit agricultural sometimes, and I've still got the original blade in this, and I've toyed lots of times about changing it. In fact, I have got a spare blade for it, but at the moment I use this to do my dirty jobs, to cut the pieces of wood, to go through things, and the blade that I've got in here actually will go through anything, and it does go through metal, it goes through the lot. So a really, really useful tool. I've used it time and time again, and you've probably seen it in my videos on different applications. So tool number 3, a circular saw. Okay, tool number 2 is a table saw. Now I know what you're thinking, oh, table saw, but I saved up for this table saw, and I think it would surprise you if you haven't got one. I think you would be surprised how cheap they are. Now I've got the Rage table saw here, made by Evolution. The only reason that I picked this one is I wanted something that was portable, but something that had a good guide on it and a nice big space to cut down sheets of wood. This is actually the 3rd table saw that I've had, and the reason why I've put this in the list is a table saw will take your woodwork to the next level. You'll be able to get much more accurate cuts. you'll be able to get the same cut on the same thing all the time. And if you're doing cuts by hand or with a circular saw or with a track saw, you've always got that degree where it can either not go right, not be exactly the same size. But with a table saw, you don't have that. It cuts everything exactly the same time. Now, I'm not going to give you buying advice on getting a table saw. If you decide that you want one, then you pick the budget that you best fits you, and you pick the saw that you like the best. But I'm going to explain to you how I got to this. The first table saw that I ever bought was a Ferrex workshop one. It was the Audi brand, and it was a fantastic table saw. It was very small. I think it would fall under the category of sight saw, I suppose. It was very small, but it gave mega accurate cuts, and it was a really good little piece of kit. It was £60 in Aldi on the special buys, and I used that for a lot of smaller projects, quite a lot of them. So when I needed to get straight edges, it gave me a straight edge all the time, really powerful. And for most people, if you're thinking of buying one, that would be the only table saw that you would ever need. But obviously, as your needs change, when you start developing your woodworking skills and you make bigger and bigger things, then the table saws that you needs to develop. I know a lot of people have the DeWalt work saws, and if you see a lot of YouTubers, they've built them into units or put them in cabinets or extended the guides. That's absolutely fine, and I will one day extend this guide. But the reason that I went for this was I wanted a combination of all of those things. Now, I didn't go straight from the work zone saw to this one. I went to the sort of younger brother of this model before. And the only reason I haven't got that now is because when I had it, first of all, and I changed the blade, it broke. And then when it came time to replace it, I just thought, I just might as well upgrade it, which is exactly what I did. So a table saw, a fantastic thing to have in the workshop. And obviously the big caveat is do not buy one of these if you're not confident or safe to use them, because they can literally take your arm off, and nobody wants that. So if you're looking to really move into that next stage, or you're cutting down big sheets of wood, then a table saw is a must. That's tool number 2. Okay, tool number 1, unsurprisingly, a Mitre saw. This is the single most important piece of kit that I have had. I have used this thousands of times already. I've used it on every job that I've done, every one of my YouTube videos, with the exception of the lumberjack review or a tool review. You'll have seen me use this. It is a fantastic piece of kit. And what I've got here, the Evolution, is a really entry-level Mitre saw. I didn't spend a lot of money on it. I think it was about £109 it was when I bought it from Screwfix. But the amount I've used it, it's been worth its weight in gold. It also comes with a blade. It's still got the original blade, still going strong. And the blade that it comes with is one of those blades that does absolutely everything. So it will cut metal, it will cut everything you want it to cut, really. You can see the blade there. It's just a brilliant, brilliant piece of kit. And without it, I wouldn't have been able to build anything I have. If you're thinking of becoming a woodworker or doing woodworking seriously, then there's nothing to stop you buying one of these. In fact, both Aldi and Lidl have had recent special buys where they've had their own one of these for sale for less than £90, both of them. Both good saws. Now, this isn't a really big expensive brand. It's not a chop saw. It's an angle Mitre saw, and it's got a sliding feature, which has been really, really useful. So the number 1 tool of all the woodworking tools that I've bought, this is the tool that I would recommend above all of them, particularly if you want to start making partitions, or if you want to start making cabinetry with internal structures. It's an absolutely fantastic piece of kit. Almost the end of the video. We've just got time for one special bonus tool. So, as I said, just time for one bonus tool, and that is this, the Airstrike nail gun. Now, you don't have to have a nail gun. In fact, many of you would never ever use a nail gun in your whole life. But for me, the chicken coop project, if you haven't seen the video, please go to my YouTube channel and watch them. There's a series of videos on a chicken coop. I could not have done the chicken coop without this single piece of equipment. Again, it's another Ryobi product. It's one which I spent a lot of time researching, I wanted one that was handheld. I didn't want one that had gas canisters in it. I didn't want one that was pneumatic and needed an air compressor. I just wanted one that I could use on the job all the time, and it's been absolutely fantastic. It might not have the driving power or the flexibility in terms of the nails that you can put in it of other ones, but for the piece of kit this is, it's been absolutely brilliant. Again, it wasn't that expensive. It was about £120, I think. The other thing is, it came without a battery. It was a body only. Now, I've got 2 or 3 different power tools you've seen today from different manufacturers. My Ryobi ones all fit on this same one system battery, the 1 Plus battery. All my other ones have got different battery systems, so it was cheaper because I had that. But if you know you're going to be doing a lot of projects where you're going to be nailing, if you're doing a lot of cabinetry or building a lot of things where you're going to be nailing a lot, then I can't recommend it enough. The other thing that I also bought, which I would also recommend, is a brad nailer. I bought that quite early on and I used that a lot, and it was only when I started to do bigger projects that I sort of outgrew the brad nailer and moved on to this. But it's an absolutely fantastic piece of kit. Highly, highly recommend it. So that's it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, notification bell, and also please feel free to leave comments. I've got some really good build projects coming up in the future and lots of content that I'd like to share with you. If you are watching these videos and you've got anything that you would like me to build, please drop it in the comments and I'll see if I can do that. But I hope you have a fantastic week. This is being filmed on the Sunday of the Euro final, so fingers crossed we'll all be smiling if England manage to win the match. Have a great week. Happy woodworking. Take care, fellow woodworkers.